And once, I don't want to be literally submerged under non-white immigration, but also I don't hate these people. And I think we could tolerate a level of diversity to say that, you know, our country may already be past the point of no return, but also we want to salvage some sense of white identity in our country, at least locally, for our own people. That's not crazy. And the same goes for the Jewish thing. We can believe that Jewish oligarchs have too much power without saying they killed Charlie Kirk and, you know, they're responsible for everything that happens. So
you can keep a dime sent $1,000. Angus Day, qui tolis peccata mundi, miserere nobis.
Thank you for the massive super chat. So true. You can keep the dime. Love it. Wow. 07's in the chat. Thank you for the massive super chat. Love it. I appreciate all the support. God bless, man. Huge super chat.
David
Thank you.
Official sent $20. The GOP has condemned you, Nick, and those aligned with you. I may not agree with every take, but I won't turn on Nick. The party needs an overhaul. Christ is king. America first.
Thank you.
Yami Groiber sent $20. Shout out to Scottish Groiber for the fist bump.
Yeah, let's go.
Blue Ranger Groiber sent $20. So much emphasis on the males. 6 feet 7 inches, captain of the football team. Quarterback. Penetrated 10 mil times. Bro thought ABD fifth 4.
That's you. That's what sex is. Okay. That's what if a girl's a whore, that's what hypergamy is. Okay. She's not slutting it out for a bunch of chuds. She's slutting it out for the top 1%, top 10% males. That's the point.
Gang. You ugly. We the big three, like we started to lead, but right now I feel like Muhammad Ali. Yeah, Muhammad Ali, the one the hell I feel like I need to drop Nazi. But that bot fan feels so good. That bot fan. It feels good up here today. Hello? Is he not muted? Am I retarded?
So happy to have you here for.
Definitely going to want Chicago. I know what I do. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it. Actually, yo, why can't you was with me, nigga? Where was that shit? Alright, you type it. It was New Orleans? It was? Yeah, I think it was New Orleans type.
And just first, kind of just start off with the positive. What did you see from Alperen Şengün? That Billy didn't really double him all night, and he seemed to just Cook?
Yeah, I mean, he's unstoppable. I mean, you don't send bodies, you don't show a crowd, that's the stuff he does. So he's been facing 2 or 3 guys all season in his spots. And tonight he was patient with everything, physical, strong, triple-double, I don't know that. 2 block shots, 2 steals. I mean, just an overall great game for him.
What led to the Bulls having such a commanding lead there in the first half?
They made 7 threes in the first quarter and was, up 20, had 40 points in the first. But that's what happens, when there's this era of basketball, teams can just get hot from the 3, and regardless of everything else on the floor, you make more threes, especially 8 more threes, you're going to have a good chance of winning.
How much of them having those threes early was a function of they just got hot, and how much was your guys' defense?
I mean, they got hot. I think they were shooting over hands. I think some of the guys that
were they shooting over hands? Holy shit!
Down threes. Nick Richards hit one in the corner. Leonard Miller. He's not shooting particularly well from the 3, but he knocked down 2 of them. So I just felt, Colin Sexton came in and just didn't miss a shot to start there. And a lot of those were dribble up overhand. So stuff. It's a
make a mislead.
It's basketball. Guys make tough shots and. Sometimes it may look like we could play harder or stronger or more physical, and sometimes guys better offense beats good defense. So you gotta give them credit for knocking down shots. Give themselves a cushion. When you play with that type of cushion, 20 points, 15, 16 points throughout the first half and the third quarter, you feel confident shooting shots.
I feel like you guys didn't come out with the proper amount of urgency to start the game. Did you see that?
Yeah, I agree with everything Coach says. Kind of hard to from the outside, from playing the game. Sometimes you don't know, and then from the outside looking in, you get a different perspective from the coach. And if he says it, then I believe it. So I felt like we probably could have been a little bit more physical on those 3-pointers, or switched a little harder. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough to lose a game that way. Yeah, for sure. We definitely could have started the game off better. Like I said, you also still got to give them credit, too. They knocked down shots over top of their hand, they made shots all night, especially from the 3-point line. So, 19 into 11 from the 3,
Let's not play again, yeah. You can cover her face.
Y'all smell that? Smells like a bunch of delusion is lying around. That's what it smells like. Pure delusion. The old WNBA media gets blasted. The old WNBA guard gets blasted for refusing to give Caitlin Clark any credit for this influx of money. This money they just received, $1.4 million max contract going up year over year, would not have happened without Caitlin Clark. They would have accepted the damn first CBA that was offered to them for $800,000. Listen, they refused to give her credit. We had Shinny and Gumake on ESPN, obviously, and they brought NECA on. We heard Shinny on before, now NECA is up there. And there's just no credit to be given to Caitlin Clark. Absolutely ridiculous. They wanted to be about them, how smart they are, this and that. All of that stuff. It's not because Caitlin Clark is selling out every arena. It's not because she brought the ratings up. Oh, no, it's because of all of us. And y'all played it unrivaled and nobody was watching it. We got to break this thing down, man. Welcome to the video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification, and hype the video. That would be greatly appreciated. Let's get into things. Neko Gumake took to ESPN to address getting the deal done. Let's take a quick look at this before we watch how we talked about being Caitlin Clark is a thankless job at this point with these ladies. Let's take a listen.
Took those words to heart, and it was just one of those moments where I was so grateful to be able to have one-on-one conversations and ultimately kind of look over time the relationships that I've been able to build with different players for us to be able to do something this big, but also to do it together. And we should not underestimate the influence of these women. Like, we really should not.
We shouldn't. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? See, that's what they want it to be about them. They want it to be about how smart they are. Where this, where that. We don't think y'all that. Listen, man. When are one of y'all gonna get on camera and say, hey, I must say, Caitlin Clark brought a huge influx of fans, following, ratings, ticket sales. She drove the money up, and we are all able to eat and capitalize off of it. Why can't nobody just be real and say that? Everybody wants to make it about them, how good of a player they are, how smart they are. Everybody wants to make it about them, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Now let's take a listen to this. As Marcellus Black,
no way.
Absolutely, he just cleaned it up. He just cleaned them up.
Hey, let me say this, because I still think it's a thankless job to be Caitlin Clark. And I just can't wrap my head around it, why they won't give her the love that she deserves, because people don't understand how dominant she really was in those tourneys. Peep this. Look.
It's a thankless job at this point. You done got everybody paid. They're never going to give you credit. They're never going to like you. It just is what it is at this point, and it's very, very unfortunate.
Get this. Look at this. 40 points. They talking crazy on it. 5 rebounds and 5 assists in the game. In NCAA tournament, don't say his. We talking about the ladies. Show history. His story. Her story. Her story. Okay? Madison Booker just did it. You go, girl. Candace Wiggins did it. Cindy Brown did it, right when NWA came out. And Caitlin Clark did it not once, not twice, but 3 times a lady. And I know y'all gotta give her love too. So, she did it 3 times when it mattered most. Turning time, March Madness. Now, there's been a lot of amazing WNBA players, a lot of amazing college players. Where all the names at? You get what I'm saying? So the Caitlin Clark effect is real, but in this world, it can't just be all good. You gotta have a villain, right? Every hero needs a villain. You gotta play something off each other. How does the battery work? The positive and the negative. So Caitlin Clark needed a moment to really have the Caitlin Clark effect.
And it's just, I mean, these people they just refuse, man. Now, let's take a look at this part. I want to take a look
here first. Let's work backwards, shall we? Because she's in the league, and everybody's saying, oh, look at all this money, all this newfound success, and all this stuff. And they're acting like it's a coincidence.
Exactly. Why y'all acting like all these people just randomly showed up because of y'all? Man, knock it off.
They're acting like, oh, we got here and instead of we got here because. Yeah. So let's just
because of Caitlin Clark.
Some people talk about the because.
What I would say about Caitlin's ascent is I'd say the 2 foundational things above all else when it comes to why Caitlin Clark became so popular. 1, hitting logo bump. Like, more than anything else, hitting logo bump.
Let me, first of all, say shout out to all y'all in the chat. Love to you guys out here. Top fans and all that. We're going to read that in a second. But like and subscribe. And make sure you become for you to really be entertained, to really be, necessary. For you to really be entertained, to really be a part of the WNBA going forward. The reason why you got to have that connection, you got to understand that the logo bombs matter. Not just because she made a shot. No. Remember, in our minds, we know what high-level basketball looks like. And in our minds, before we socialize that thought, before we take that thought through our experiences, it's just a primal thought, lizard brain thought. You know what we think of when we see the highest level? Steph Curry in shooting, right? Logo, bombs. Wait a minute. So in our brain, before we even get to our frontal lobe, before we even get to where we're going to make it really actual experience thought, because that's what happens. You have a thought, and then it starts saying, man, I can't do that. Man, I can't do it. Oh, I can do that. Oh, I seen that. Oh, what happened? You start getting all these references to kind of fill it in, give it context. But a logo bomb to the lizard brain is Steph Curry. Because Steph Curry did that. Oh, snap. She did that. So now your mind can't go, oh, that's just the ladies. Oh, they just ain't nothing. Oh, they ain't as good. You can't make it JV. And the reason is because she did the exact same thing that Steph Curry did. Now here's...
Yeah. She has changed women's basketball. She has garnered a level of interest that no one else has been able to capture. As many great women's basketball players as we've seen, there's been some great players. No one has been able to capture an audience like this. No one has been able to captivate and keep people tuned in and interested like this. And the fact that you guys can't give her any credit is absolutely ridiculous. Get down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. This Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe.
So the Indiana Fever have done one thing this year they didn't do at all last year. I think a lot of people are now starting to be a little bit concerned. They're a little bit concerned, and it is purely about this. See these two players here? They're being posted non-stop over the last week or so by the Fever, and then Kelsey Mitchell hasn't been. But there's also one big key thing that St. Patrick's Day, KK Timpson's Day. Then you're seeing them post about Lexi Hull. And then for, I think it was International Women's Day, KK Timpson was there as well. KK Timpson final of her title. You're seeing athletes on Limited Champions.
You a bitch.
Posted plenty about Kelsey Mitchell when she was playing there. But they've seen recently the Indiana Fever are posting obviously Caitlin, a lot of Aaliyah, and KK Timpson seems to be very well. And a lot of people are like, oh, these Fever aren't going to protect Kelsey. They're like not posting anything about Kelsey. And if we're being honest, a lot of people are overreacting to this match. It was not meaning why it didn't mean anything. Is because Kelsey Mitchell is currently not an Indiana Fever player. Like, she's currently not. The Indiana Fever are going to pick up her, or they're going to, get her on the court designated. There's no chance
Get that
she doesn't have a
motherfucker.
That's going to happen. I don't think anyone is surprised by me saying that statement because it's a fact. She's going to be given the court designation. Whether that's to trade her or whether that is to keep her, doesn't really matter. She's going to be making the Supermax somewhere, probably in Indiana. If it's not in Indiana, I don't know where it'll be. I don't know what it'll be. Whatever. Like they're going to get her somewhere. They're going to somewhere that she wants to be. She'll be somewhere that she wants to be. But the Indiana Fever are obviously not posting Kelsey Mitchell everywhere because they haven't posted Kelsey Mitchell since the new CPA has been done because the chances are no longer 100% Kelsey Mitchell. I think all parties understand that. Because the Supermax contract is higher than anyone thought it was going to be. As well as that, the Supermax contract as a percentage, or nobody thought the Caitlin Clark rule was coming in. The Caitlin Clark rule was only announced if I'm not mistaken, the Caitlin Clark rule was announced a week before. It was announced during the CPA negotiations, like during the last week.
Fuck.
So it looked like it was a given. Like with Caitlin and Leah still on their rookie deals, it was probably a given that Kelsey was going to get a 2-year Supermax because Aaliyah then gets a max the following year, and Caitlin gets a max the year after. But they get brought in a little bit earlier. So now you can only get 1-year Supermax. Now there's no guarantee Kelsey plays. And you haven't seen much of it since then. And the reason is that Michaela Simpson's being Caitlin Clark and Leah both are guaranteed to be there. Posing about Lexi means the likelihood is Lexi's going to be there.
Bro, KD.
You've seen nothing about Kelsey.
What the fuck
You've
was
seen
that,
no
bro?
mention of Kelsey. Why is that? Because no one really knows what's going on. When it comes to these Supermax contracts, when it comes to what dent it's going to make in salary cap, what it's going to do for the future of Fever, there are now conversations that have to be had that didn't have to be had 2 weeks ago. And the Fever clearly will want Kelsey Mitchell. It is just a matter of whether or not Kelsey Mitchell fits the timeline they want, whether or not the Fever are going all in 2026, or whether the Fever believe, you know what we need to do for our timeline is not 2026 because New York is still going to have probably Hilton the better for Vegas is still going to have AJ Wilson. Our timeline might be when Caitlin and Leah are 26, 27 years old, because when they're that age, like it took AJ 5 years, it took AJ 4 or 6 seasons to win a title. Like I know she was an MVP in the third, but it took her 6 seasons to win a title. And that was with Jackie Young, with Kelsey Plum. It took till 2022 for AJ to win a title, and she got Chelsea Gray in at that stage, and Chelsea Gray was the reason they won a title. I mean this when I say this, the 2022 playoffs from Chelsea Gray, like when people are saying peak for peak best point guard against Caitlin, I'm like, it depends on what peak. If the peak
Bro,
is the
what
playoffs,
the fuck is that
Gray,
quick ass layup, bro?
Playoffs, literally, it was a magnet ball like I've never seen before.
Oh.
Professional basketball. It was.
Why is this shit so hard? Pause, resume.
But yeah, so you've got that, and if the Indiana Fever deem their title window, and this is where they have to be smart, if they deem their best chance of winning a title being 2027, 2028, 2029, if they think Caitlin Clark at 27 and Leah at 27 gives them a better chance of winning a title, especially if you go and you're like Kelsey, if you draft a Flaw J this year, and when it comes to Kelsey Mitchell, you're able to turn Kelsey Mitchell into maybe the 4th pick from Washington. Maybe Washington are thinking, okay, whoever we want to use our 9th pick. Maybe we could get 4 for Kelsey Mitchell. Maybe we get 4 and I don't know what other young player Washington might have. I think they might have Emily Engster on a reserve free agency contract and the rights to Emily Engster. Something like that. And like, I don't love that in the Fever. I don't love that. Or maybe 4, like, but at the same time, like, something along those lines. Because Washington aren't going to do that, especially the way these things are. Maybe if you're Dallas and you're like, Dallas, like, fuck if they're going to go for it, Kelsey Mitchell for 1 might be an option. And then you're like, okay, 27-year-old Hazy, 27-year-old Kate, 27-year-old Aaliyah.
What the?
And another Max Scott.
Bro, this game is fucking with me, dog. It's really fucking with me.
Better bet than going all in on 2026. When if we don't win in 2026, we don't really have that much of a future. We're trying to build from the late draft picks. We're trying to then build on late draft picks because then Melissa Smith. If
Wide
they
open
draft
threes,
year
right?
off, then Melissa Smith we're in a different situation. If they drafted Sanaya Rivers last year, we're having a different conversation. Or right now, we're having a different conversation if they had Sanaya Rivers. And if they were able to have any other young player on this team on a rookie deal that's competent. No offense to Michaela Simpson, she's not going to be a key figure. They just don't. And in my opinion, what I would do is I would try to get as many young assets that are there long term for Kelsey Mitchell. Heck, if you want to go to Dallas and you don't even want number 1, you go and say, give me Zaza, Louisa, your 2027 pick, and the Aces 2027 pick. And you get Kelsey Mitchell. You can afford Kelsey. You got Paige, you got AZ, you got Kelsey, you got a Wack Career, You got whatever other near max contract, or whatever max contract they can get for agency, throw a bag of John Quell for all I care. And then anyone on the wing, and you're like, okay, or Daniel Miller might still be there. And like, that's a playoff team. It's a low-end playoff team. That's what you want to do for your balance. And then the Fever suddenly have Zaza coming off the bench, Louisa, her and Aaliyah will start 5. They're probably not going to win 2026, but suddenly you've still on a rookie deal in 2027, and then you've got 2 first-round picks next year for some younger players, and you still have the number 9 pick, which you might be able to use on a Flaugier, on a Latson, on a Kiki Rice, depending on what way you're going to trade it. So it makes sense. But the reality is,
if he makes it something, yeah.
But you're seeing it with nothing being posted by Kelsey Mitchell. First of all, Kelsey is probably not in Indiana. That is a big thing. She's probably not in Indiana. We saw last year, other than signed, Kelsey Mitchell was not in Indiana.
Oh my God, I can't be missing shots like that.
And you're seeing a lot of KK Kingston sets Kelsey Mitchell. KK Kingston certainly in the final. Not only that is, I think the odds of Kelsey Mitchell staying are significantly lower now than they were 2 weeks ago. It's not saying that they're sub 50%. I think the odds 2 weeks ago of Kelsey Mitchell staying were 95%. I think the odds of her staying right now are 75%. But there is still legitimate discussions that have to be had behind the scenes for what the Fever have done. And there's also legitimate discussions that have to be made between Kelsey Mitchell and her agent, whether or not staying in Indiana on a 1-year supermax with no guarantee is worth it over the stability of getting a 2-3 year supermax elsewhere, which she would absolutely be able to get. Like, she would be able to sign a freaking extension. Like, if she got court and traded, she would sign an extension immediately with whatever team. She would, and the agent would get her to a team that would guarantee her to sign her extension. But yeah, it's a really interesting thing. I think Kelsey Mitchell's situation is going to be a big talking point until the day we see Kelsey Mitchell in a Fever uniform practicing. Because I think up to the day of the draft there is possibility in that trade. And Kelsey Mitchell's not the only player that's in the core and trade category, by the way. A lot of teams could potentially core and trade big players. And it becomes really interesting. But anyway, I'll see you guys.
J. Cole is on a full-out press run. He has had 2 interviews in the past week, and we have to discuss some of this, because some of the comments he's making have the internet in a bit of an uproar. Some people are happy, some people are upset, some people are saying this confirms everything that I've thought, some people have had it wrong the whole time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my opinion on where I stand and some things that I have been absolutely right on, because before he gave these interviews, the answers were in the music and in the actions. If it's your first time here, I go by the name Jay Roebuck, and on this channel, we don't only discuss music, we talk about the business of music, because sometimes that drives what's going on all around us. If you've been here before, you already know how we rock, but for everyone, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and hype the video if you're watching on mobile. Let's get into it. There are 2 interviews we will react to. The first we're going to look at is his interview with Cam'ron, right, on Talk with Flea. Now, as you know, these 2 had a bit of a back and forth, and Cam eventually went on to sue J. Cole for $500,000 because Cole didn't do the interview or give him a verse. And we'll see some clips where they discuss that in a minute. The other interview he did was with Nadeska on Apple Music. But we will start with the Cam'ron clip. Shout out to Harlem. Shout out to Cam and Mace. I love what they're doing with the platform. So let's watch the clip, and then I will tell you my thoughts.
The Drake and Kendrick thing got totally out of hand. Do you think it spiraled out of control?
The world... Right away, the world became like politics. You're either Democrat or...
So, yeah. The WNBA offseason is going to be mad. 46 days of chaos. The 6th of April, which is like, what, 2 weeks away, is the expansion draft. The college tournament is happening right now. Shout out Olivia Miles, the freaking GOAT, who has now slightly cemented herself at number 2. And the expectation now is that she's going to go 2 regardless. If Awaz goes 1, AZ probably goes to Seattle. If AZ goes 1, Awa probably goes to Washington. It becomes kind of crazy. But
Are we gonna pick Alec?
I'll talk about her in a video later.
Because we got, what's her name?
So many things with these flash drives.
I think her name is Alec too. Wait.
Before we on to you guys are
We got the girl coming from the Euro League.
1,730 subscribers in the day. We're trying to gain one. We're just trying to gain one subscriber. We've been on 57,720 for the last like 4 days, so we're just trying to gain one. That being said, there are some genuinely big things here when it comes down to it. When it comes down to these the expansion right here. So this is huge, by the way. This is actually huge. Sources told ESPN that neither the Tempo or the Fire.
Oh, you can't get over him, bro.
That neither the Tempo or the Fire have received any rules.
Yeah, leave him.
They have no idea about what's going on. The draft is scheduled for what? 12 days from now? I think it's like 12. No, 6 is Monday. It is scheduled for 2 weeks. It is in 2 weeks. They have no idea what the rules are.
You gotta play off ball right there.
Previous 13 existing teams will be allowed to select through players. The expectation is will be 5. The Tempo will then take turn, and the Fire will take turns selecting players who are unprotected until they each get 12. According to this year's schedule, they will use April 1st to 5th to finalize player protections before the draft on April 6th. A coin flip will determine which team selected first. A team does not pick first during expansion will get the number 6 pick in the. Why do they keep referring to it as the college draft? I've never seen. By the way, like I'm somebody that would have pointed this out if this was everywhere last year. Why have they started calling it the college draft in the 1 year where literally half of the first round picks are going to be international players? Sorry. Half is very much is an overshooting it. It's going to be 4 players. It will be, without question, Nel Angloma, Iana Martin, and Awafan, and then Frida Bruno, who obviously going to be the late first or in the first couple of picks in the second round. And that's like, there could be more. There could be more, like, early second round, you're looking at potentially Saffron Shields being drafted. And you just never know who's going to pop up in certain drafts. But that being said, they're going to be getting the 6th pick, or if you pick second, the 20th draft. And unpopular opinion, like, I don't mind losing one pick in this year's draft, especially because it's like last year's draft. We're between 6 and 7, Georgia Amor and Anissa Morrow, and I feel like Anissa Morrow is a better prospect than Georgia Amor. Like, once you get out of that, in my opinion, that three, the three, like Lauren Betts, even like, I understand the idea of Lauren Betts. I don't think Lauren Betts is like the greatest player in the world, but I understand why you would take a Lauren Betts. Like a Zach Edey pick, you're like, look, she's just going to be gone. I understand why you would take Lauren Betts. If you want to win a championship, I don't understand it, but like, in a lot of situations, I understand why you take Lauren Betts. But outside of, I think, the big 4 right now, because Flau'jae has dropped a little bit, I understand taking it. Let's just put her as a big drop. Like, the gap between, like, a Kiki Rice and a Latza. If you take Kiki Rice above Latza, Latza could be a better player. Nel Angloma could be a better player. And Jenna Neekins could be a better player. So I'm like, all these players that are there at 6'7", it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter if it's Flau'jae, if it's... Some people are saying Flau'jae is going to fall to 10. There's no way an expansion franchise is going to have the opportunity to take Flau'jae Johnson same night. There's just not. There's no way Flau'jae falls past 6. Everything outside of basketball is fun. That being said,
bro.
This is really bad. Like, this, any word expansion draft will use a snake draft format. No, it won't use a snake draft format because the quote-unquote college draft is being affected by it, so it won't be a snake draft format. Like, it is going to be a coin flip. The team that doesn't pick first, teams are incentivized to lose the coin flip. Martin Livingston in 4th between number 6 and 7 is significant. Not in the year's draft. The year can be scheduled until the new CBA is ratified, which will take several weeks. According to the memo sent in late February, we know when it's going to happen, but they have no idea the rules. There is no situation. The CBA is done. They should know the rules. There should be the only thing, I think there's in general, there's going to be like a kind of know. Anyone saying the VALF should protect Taylor Thornton is fucking dumbass. Why would the VALF protect Taylor Thornton? She's not going to be Corey. She's not going to be Corey. You can just bring her back. Why would you protect Taylor Thornton? instead of protecting what other young players would have loved to have. Like,
Kate Martin.
How much do they actually have? Instead of putting Carla Lake, no wonder they blocked me because they're a dumbass. Why the hell would the Valves protect an unrestricted free agent and let Carla Lake, who is a 21-year-old elite point guard, leash? Who, by the way, if Carla Lake was in college, might be the second best, would be the second best point guard in the draft, better than Janet Martin. Like, she would be better, like a higher, she's younger and better than Flodgett at this point in time. Today. Yes, Flodgett has more upside, but Carla Lake, elite. But that being said, like, if they're dumb as they let Carla Lake walk, like, the Dallas Wings were idiots for letting Carla Lake walk to Golden State. If Golden State let Carla Lake walk, that'll be mad, absolute mad. But clearly not knowing what's going on is not ideal for anyone. It's not ideal for anyone in this year's draft, and it's not ideal for obviously the Vox. It's not ideal for why do I say Vox? It's not ideal for Spire. It's not ideal for the Tempo. It's not ideal for fans of any of these franchises. It's not ideal for WNBA fans in general. It's not, like, when we're looking at 5 players, my expectation is that, like, a lot of people are like, oh, Sophie's going to get for it. Hell no, she won't. Like, you're going to be seeing, like, the Wings, for example. My expectation is, if the Wings are smart, they're tanking one more year. Like, the Wings going for it now, call it Chicago style. The Wings tanking one more year. Could you imagine adding, because you have to tank one more year because of Paige Beckett and Beckett and Kate Crockwell. Because of that rule. You have to tank for an extra year. Because of, in hindsight, if the Caitlin Clark rule was brought in, and you thought Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark were going to cost a max salary a year early, the Indiana people would have tanked 2024 season. Like, they would have tanked 2024 season. The Christie side season, they would have tanked that season to give them a shot at Paige Beckers and Kiki, Citron. They would have tanked one more season. If they had known they would have to pay, they would have needed more young players. They would not have traded that number 8 pick for Sophie Cunningham. First of all, I don't know why
I ain't even changed the
they
fucking.
trade that number 8 pick. Do you know why they traded the number 8 pick?
I always forget,
it wasn't
bro.
for Sophie Cunningham. People are like, oh, they traded it. They want to get off the contract so they could take Wannabar. It's as simple as that. They want to get off the contract so they could pay the Wannabar. There is no way in hell that it would have taken a first round pick and Melissa Smith to get Sophie Cunningham. There is no way. They just didn't want to use their first round pick. They wanted the contract difference between 8 and 19. And heck, I don't even think they wanted to use a 19 pick. I think they wanted Jalen Brown at the team. But KK Timpson was there for them at 19. I think they were probably expecting to draft Bree Hall and maybe even a Von Ejim at 19 or someone that wasn't going to make the team, and just leave it at that. That being said, yeah, not knowing the rules is not an ideal scenario all around for the Tempo and the Portland Fire. I think there's going to be a lot of good players for them in the expansion draft, so it's not the end of the world. Like, my expectation is that Arike is going to be available. I think Azure is going to be available. I'm just trying to think of, like, who could be Corey. And because of these new contracts, I don't know if Kalia Cocker's used it for 2 core years. If she hasn't used it for 2 core years, she could be available. Potentially, if Phoenix are like, you know what, because of the concussion, we don't feel comfortable protecting Satu Sabali. We want to protect Lexi Held. We want to protect, like a Kat Westfeld, a Monica Cole-McCanny. They might just say, look, these are more benefit. Like, we need these players. We can't afford Satu anyway. We want to keep Copper instead of Satu, so we might as well have them draft Satu. Like, there's a world where that happens. Like, there is going to be, by the way, a all-star level player taking the expansion draft. And if people don't realize it, I don't know who it's going to be. Like, Bree Jones used it for 4 years, so it can't be her. Like, we might see, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Like, we're not going to see, like, an Ariel Atkins go from Chicago. Fuck it, we might see an Ariel Atkins go from Chicago. Like, we could see a team pouring a player and just giving them away for nothing. Like Enrique's a player people think, but because of the no 3 max players, like I don't know if John Quell is eligible to be taken, but like we could see an expansion team taking John Quell. Like Saab and Stewie obviously are going to be there in New York, in Seattle. Like, what are the odds?
Motherfuckers got Air Reed at this bitch, bro.
Nothing. Brittany Sykes very well, like not very well. Brittany Sykes is going to be left unprotected. I don't know about her court situation, but we could be seeing Brittany Sykes coming off an all-star season to take it. So it's very different than last year where they have to be really creative, where they like take Maria Conde from Chicago instead of Dane Evans. They take a player like Ileana Rupert from Atlanta when everyone thought they were taking Haley Jones. So all this being said, it's going to be a lot more star-studded big names in this year's draft, and I think they're going to get some pretty decent players. But anyway, I'll see you guys. So, Caitlin Clark and Diana Taurasi. Taurasi is seen by many as the GOAT, and obviously I think when it's all said and done, AJ Wilson will overtake Taurasi, if not already. I'm going to be very real here. Like, AJ Wilson she's won more MVPs than anyone else.
Bro, why the fuck are you popping, bro?
I think Cheryl Swoops up there as well. She's
You really
won 3
pulled
titles,
that.
and won as well in a time where no matter, we're not going to let revisionist history come in where she didn't have a super team, she won a title, which is incredibly impressive. That being said, Taurasi still one of the GOATs, and the player that most resembles Taurasi in how they are in everything is Caitlin Clark. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. It is Caitlin Clark. Like, people are trying to say Paige Beckers. No, there is not any personality similarities between Paige Beckers and Diana Taurasi. There's just not. And like, ironically enough, Caitlin Clark kind of embodies all the positives and the negative qualities of Diana Taurasi. Because let's be real, like, as much as anyone wants to say something, but Caitlin Clark's not a perfect person. Neither was Taurasi. They were both crash artists. They have a similar mentality to the game. They have the mentality of, like, I'm trying to word this in a way that doesn't get clipped out of context, but they have the stereotypical mentality of a killer on the men's side of basketball, which is rare to see in women's sports. Like, as somebody, again, that coached both men and women, it's like, even there is a certain type of kind of aggression and mentality that if you see it on, like, from a female athlete, if it's comparable to a high-level men's athlete, you know that player, even if they're kind of a weaker player, skills-wise when they're younger, they're going to be unbelievable when they're older. But it's that type of mentality and aggression that they both have. So Angel Reese has it as well, absolutely. And the player that most embodies this for me is for the very, very niche audience. If you ever grew up watching Lindsay Peak play basketball, like, there was a different level, like, not even a different level, but it was like her aggression and mentality meant that she probably could have competed against lads her age, or lads in, like, physically almost, and it's just due to aggression and stuff, and to a lesser extent, if from even more niche, if anyone ever played against Laura McGinley in Irish basketball growing up, in a very, very niche reference. But yeah, there is a mentality thing between the two of them that is so similar. And let's listen to what Grant Young has. He had got Diana Taurasi, asked her about wearing number 12, or whether she or Sue Bird had a hand in making it happen. And let's be real, I'd say Taurasi absolutely had a hand in making it happen. I'd say Caitlin wanted the pressure, and I'd say Taurasi was happy. And like, saying that Paige probably didn't want the pressure is not a knock on Paige. They're different people. And I will say this very clearly. Paige fits in better than Caitlin when in the comparison. Paige fits in better. Caitlin fits out better. There is not one similarity, and that's why they're so fucking good together.
Facts.
Paige and Caitlin are so good together. Of course. As soon as we try to put it on, my internet's gone slow. Of course. take a listen here. Shout out Grant Young, by the way. Shout out Grant Young from Sports Illustrated. Don't always agree with every one of the points the guy makes, but he has logic and seems like a good dude.
If they're in the Super Women's World Cup qualifying tournament, obviously we know that. That number is very tied to you. What was your reaction when you saw that?
I mean,
No. My internet's working fine because I'm working off a fucking laptop plugged into a screen. No! But this shit works! My internet's fine.
USA, they're in the Super Women's World Cup qualifying tournament. Obviously, we know that that number is very tied to you. What was your reaction when you saw that?
I mean, it's so cool. To see Caitlin not only wear the USA jersey, but number 12. I just spent so many, I spent 2 decades wearing that jersey and that number, and I couldn't think of anyone better to take it and put it on and just have an amazing career. And Caitlin will do that. She has a great qualifiers down in Puerto Rico. It's just going to be fun to watch her play, and this summer in Germany, and then the Olympics. No one better to wear the 12. She's going to put some gold medals on that jersey, I know.
Agreed. And then, do you know if that was random, or did you maybe talk to Sue and have any hand in making that happen?
I'd say once I'm out of things, I'm out. Maybe Sue, she's a little bit more calculated than people think, so.
So basically, yeah, Super did it for a reason. That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like. There's no way Super didn't just call Diana being like, Diana, guess who I've given your jersey to? But no, Super knows. Super knows. And it's like, it's one of those things where like Taurasi's happy about it. Caitlin Clark is her adopted daughter. But it's like you could see the first time when they watched that South Carolina game in the Sue and Diana show, where they were like, okay, like watching Caitlin's like, oh shit. If you guys agree that was just ridiculous, subscribe. We are trying to get to 57,730 subscribers. If you're wondering why my hood is up, I have no heating. For the next 4 days. The only thing I want more than some heat is for you guys to hit that subscribe number. I also don't have any big jackets because all my jackets are my fucking parents' house. This is the heaviest thing I have here. It's cold. But yeah, clearly Taurasi's happy with it. We've come so far since reality is coming. I never thought the reality is coming was anything other than ultra competitiveness from Diana Taurasi. Because you saw that very first game, and this is when it was like you thought there was pettiness, and then the first thing before tip off, Diana Taurasi, this is when every player was cold towards Caitlin. Diana Taurasi went out of her way to and Brittany Griner, the two of them went out of their way to embrace Caitlin, and it was like the game that no one thought the Fever were going to win. Caitlin had what was the most ridiculous game, one of the best games I think she'd played up to that point. Even though if you look at the stat sheet, she goes 4 of 15 from the field, had 15 points, 13 assists. But the Indiana Fever went from down 10 to up 15 in a 6-minute spell, and Caitlin scored her assist on every single basket. Caitlin played 8 good minutes in that game. She was 1 rebound off triple double, but she played 8 good minutes, and in those 8 minutes were so good that it was oh shit, those 8 minutes changed the entire game. And also we can't forget the Phoenix Mercury sacrificed Kalia Copper, and she shot 4 shots. She was full court pressing Caitlin. They were so confused with how to guard Caitlin Clark. They started Natasha Cloud on Leah Boston and blitz this hard switched every screen, and then let Leah Boston go to town on Natasha Cloud on the inside. It was mad. They had Brittany Griner guarding Melissa Smith. There was some mad shit that they tried to run. But like it or not, DT is their runner. But it's straight from the goat's mouth. Caitlin is her and Sue's firstborn child after all. But it's they're watching this, and there's a big difference when it comes to Taurasi. I think Taurasi is going to be one of those vets very not involved in basketball. She's going to just drift she's going to be as little as possible involved in basketball. She's going to chill. She's going to just do her own thing, and the odd time get an interview. And again, want to shout out Grant Young for, first of all, asking Taurasi that question, because I think there's a lot of reporters, these are the way things have been covered in the women's basketball space, and been afraid to answer that question. Ask that question, and there's no doubt about it, Taurasi would answer it in that same way. At the end of the day, Taurasi is just going to be one of those vets that I'd say she's just looking at it like Taurasi's looking at even with UConn bias, and even with UConn bias, she'll always say Paige's the best guard in the league. You'll never hear that statement out of Taurasi. And Taurasi might play Paige better than Caitlin, but you will also never hear Taurasi compare. Like Taurasi knows the closest thing to her is Caitlin. They are a different breed of player. I think Taurasi is the better shot creator by quite a lot than Caitlin Clark, even the young Taurasi. Neither of them play defense. Like, it's funny, I made a post, I was like, it's funny, because like Gino wouldn't have accepted Caitlin because body language and defense are the two most important things to him. We were like, Diana Taurasi's body language was worse and her defense was worse than Caitlin's. But like, Taurasi was a terrible defender, and people are like, oh no, actually Diana Taurasi's defense is actually elite. That's who you don't know ball. And I've literally like shared a forum post where people were saying in 2008, there's an article in 2008 that Diana Taurasi can't be in GOAT conversation. By the way, I don't think she won one title at this stage. She won one? I think she won one at that stage. And they were like, Taurasi can't be in GOAT conversation because she doesn't play defense. And this was like 5 years into the league for her being in the league. That being said, like, she did get fucked out of losing an MVP. She lost an MVP to Candace Parker because of a fan vote. Like, I'd be pissed if I was, in a way, if I was Taurasi too. Like, let's be real. Taurasi lost an MVP with fan vote. But yeah. Anyway, shout out Taurasi. And like, I think Caitlin will deal with. And by the way, like I think Sue Bird knows where it's like, you even heard it from Paige. And by the way, again, this is not saying when it's all said and done, Paige won't be a better player than Caitlin, because there's always that possibility. They're young. They're 24 years old. Like, there's at 24 years old, there was a ocean-sized gap between Luka Doncic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and now we're at the stage where there is. For me, it's like, I think Luka's better, but you think Shai's better? I'm not even going to argue it's that close. It is neck and neck, but there was an ocean-sized gap at that age. And if things keep going the way they are, and I think when it's all said and done, Shai's probably going to have a better career because I think he's going to last longer. But yeah, it's an interesting one here, and it's like, I think when it comes to Sue Bird picking these numbers, like, you know that there is a pressure that comes with being the first person since that Taurasi to wear that jersey for the senior team, and you know that there's no player that's dealt with pressure better. Like, even if you look at Paige, if he came into the WNBA, Paige immediately was talking about, oh, I don't want to be compared to Katie, you know, we're both different players, we're both running our own race, whereas Caitlin Clark walked into the WNBA and was triple teamed from game one and just continued to get that. So anyway, yeah, that's the video. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys.
Gang, wait, gang, you ugly, gang, like, gang, stop. Cheeser, like, imagine, like.
Okay.
That's not even funny, bro.
That's insane. That's not okay.
That's why there's an angry face next to him.
You're actually a disgusting piece of horse shit. You're such a fucking slut. You deserve nothing less than you fucking do. I'm sorry.
Bro, cheese. Like, imagine just.
You have to get off the
Yeah,
make it last. But when does the prophecy start and end in my class? Because if we brought up this thing with Isaiah 7, he talks about.
I don't know if you thought this shit was sweet or you just thought he was somebody else sucking meat. I don't know what the fuck they thought it was, but it ain't that.
I need to organize my notes.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about the process specific we were talking about with what we were saying in 9-5, that starts with chapter 7. But
And of course, the Nuggets, they're currently the 8th seed.
Man, the interlinear. Every time I try to look up these definitions,
Yeah, I think it's 14. 7:14.
Yeah.
It says, therefore, the Lord of his own presence will find behold a young woman and a child, and he will bear a son, and he will call his name Emmanuel. But it says young woman. It doesn't say virgin. That's just what Christian Bible would. If I go grab my Christian Bible, I'm sure it says like that.
I just need to commit to one of these.
Same here. I took Wolf on 1 and a little bit of 2, and I got busy. I need to get back into it.
I see leaves are green. The ugly bitch too. My money blue. My money blue.
Fall backwards still. Come on, dang it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is speaking of King Ahaz, who becomes terrified. And I think he's still up with somewhere. Yeah, there it is. He words the Bible because Ahaz said, I will not have and I will not touch the Lord. So I think it's speaking of crisis when King Ahaz. Hold on, Luna. King Ahaz is terrified, and there's 2 kingdoms that are about to attack. And then Isaiah says, you know, stop Christians, don't worry, God will protect you.
Because I do see what you're saying, because I was doing the translation. But if you was a virgin or a young woman. So.
Right, and then if you keep going in 17, it says, the Lord shall bring upon you and upon your people and upon your father's house days which have not come since the day that Ephraim turned away from Judah. Now it's a little bit further. Razor, king of Assyria. The Lord shall save with the great razor. I'm on 20 right now. On the other side of the river, on the king of Assyria, the head and the hair of the leg, and also the beard shall be entirely removed.
Oh my God.
I guess my only thing on this is it is hard when you have multiple dreams, but contextually, obviously, it's something that flows in the Testament. It coincides very well with the story of Mariam. Right? So,
I found it. It was actually before. So before that, it says 6:7:3, and the Lord said to Isaiah, go out toward Ahaz and carry Yashub, your son, to the edge of the conduit of the upper pool to the road of the lofty field, and you shall say to him, build the spirit and calm yourself, do not fear, and let your heart not be faint because of the 2 smoking stones of firebrands, because of the raging anger of Rezin and Aram, and the son of Remaliah. Because Aram planned harm to you, Ephraim and the son of Remaliah, saying, let us go up against Judah and provoke it and annex it to us, and let us crown the king with this.
Dumbass, what you doing?
So say the Lord God, neither shall it succeed, nor shall it come to pass, for the head of Aram is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin, and in another 5 years, Ephraim will be broken, no longer be a people, and the last part, and the head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is the son of Eliah, who do not believe it, because you cannot believe. So talking about these 2 kingdoms or shrubs that are coming down, and how Ahaz.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Draymond Green Show. On today's show, I'll get into some of the headlines that I've taken. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Draymond Green Show. On today's show, I'll get into some of the headlines that I've taken note of over the past few days, including the first wild weekend of the NCAA tournament. Another brawl breaking out. I told you all these things are becoming common. And then also Luka Doncic and Goga Bitadze beef, which I have a pretty interesting perspective on. But we'll get into that in the show. Let's get right into it. The Draymond Green Show is proudly presented by Grooms. Grooms proves that you can do the least and still feel the most, thanks to a delicious daily habit that does the heavy lifting. Save up to 52% off with code Draymond at Grooms.co. That's code Draymond at GRUNS.co. Obviously, in our last game, we played the Atlanta Hawks, which is our first time playing against the Hawks since the JK Hill trade. And, you know, number one, it was great to see those guys. Got a chance to have dinner with JK after the game, which was great. Got a chance to spend some time with Buddy. Man, you know, it's the business of basketball, man. You spend so much time with the guys over the years, building relationships, and then it all just kind of ends like that, except the relationship doesn't end. But you're with someone every day and then not at all. You know? So it was great to see those guys, man. Buddy Hill, Phil.
Dang, is you a hoe?
Great energy in the room at all times. And JK, man, it was interesting just sitting there chopping it up with him and hearing his perspective on everything. Hearing, you know, I think beautiful thing about when I listen to guys to me is like I'm not listening to kind of what everyone else is listening to. You know, so I'm listening to someone speak and I'm watching the maturation of a young man. You know, over the last 4 years, just watching his maturation process, how he processes things, his vision on things, how he's looking at, you know, how he's approaching different decisions in his life. It was a beautiful thing to see, and I was happy as hell to have the opportunity to break bread with him. You know, I take my relationship with the young guys very serious. I take relationships in general seriously, but anytime you have an opportunity to build a relationship with a young guy, I take that very seriously. I honor it, and it's important. You know, it's the young guy that comes in the NBA today is different than the young guy that came into the NBA 10 years ago. And getting to know the young guy that comes in the NBA today is a completely different experience, and one that requires you to put work in. So when you put that work in, and you're able to build a relationship. I really, 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 truly embrace that. You know, so it's great seeing those guys. Obviously, we didn't win.
What the fuck?
The struggle continues. But nonetheless, basketball is not always about winning or losing. Tell someone who believes that shit that, because I don't. But anyway, the relationship is great to see them. It's great to see Ozzy. You know, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that. And then there was a viral moment of me looking up for the Hawks manager. You go into these arenas that don't have huge fan bases, if you will, and they kind of create this new thing. They kind of create these kind of student sections, and you know they usually sit pretty high up, and so the student section was paying me for about 3 months up. And you know, after a while, I just kind of looked up at the banners, you know, the history of the organization, and I just found it hard for them to yell 3 months up because I was looking at the history of the organization. And so, you know, once I started trying to open my eyes a little wider to get a glimpse of the long history of the Hawks, they kind of started to show up. And that was a fun moment for me, fun moment for the crowd, fun moment for the arena. Great time. Nonetheless, you know, you got Anzi running the show over there. You got, you know, a couple of my young fellas over there. So I'm actually rooting for the Hawks to do well. So I want to put that out there. You know, when you build relationships, and it goes back to building relationships, when you build relationships with people, you want to see them do well. And so, unfortunately for the Hawks fans, I had to shut them up because that's what I do. But they should know I'm not rooting against them. I got people over there I want to see them do well. And so, next time they should just shut up. But it was a fun time, nonetheless. Got to see 2 Chainz, you know, the staple, the fixture at the game, so that was fun as well. And then coming from Atlanta, we were on a back-to-back from Detroit playing against the Pistons. The Pistons without Cade Cunningham. Still a tough team. Still play with the same identity. Obviously, not having Cade Cunningham out there changes things on the offensive end pretty dramatically. But nonetheless, still a good team. They still stick to who they are. I tell y'all what, man. Jalen Duren got to be one of the strongest guys I've ever played in my career. I had spoke a while back about Jalen Duren being strong coming into the league, but not really knowing how to use the strength. But he wasn't soft. He just didn't really know how to apply the strength. But I'm here to tell you, some 3-4 years later, he's by far the strongest player in the NBA. Dude's strong as hell, and he knows how to use it now. Nonetheless, it was fun playing against those guys. Always great having the opportunity to go back home and play and see people that have cheered for me my whole life. You get a lot of people coming down from Saginaw. Obviously, I've been all through the state of Michigan, spent a lot of time in the Bloomfield Hills and Birmingham area throughout the course of my later life as I got to late high school, college, NBA. You know, just a lot of people that I've built relationships with over the years, and it's an opportunity to play back at home in front of them, see my family, just see my grandmother. It's always great. So, always an honor to play in Detroit. obviously you want to come out of there with a win. That didn't happen for us. But in particular, the Pistons team without Cade, though, number one, I just want to see Cade get back. Guy who's put the work in. I want to see him get back out there with the opportunity to make All-NBA first team, opportunity to still be in the MVP race. Like, I want that for him. And then also, man, you don't know how often you get the number one seed. Injuries happen. Unforeseen things take place, and it can derail opportunities fast. And so I want Cade back out there just so they can fulfill whatever it is that their destiny is this year. And it not be taken away by injury. Their main guys not being out on the floor. Isaiah Stewart's recovering from the injury. I want to see him get back out there. Those guys have put a lot of work in. You're talking Stewart and Cade, like they've been there through the shit years. With losing 24 games in a row. So to see them, or something of that nature. So to see them have this opportunity as the number one seed in the NBA, in the Eastern Conference right now, I want to see them have the opportunity to go into a playoff healthy with that number one seed and see them roll the dice and what they come away with. So rooting for those guys. Still a good team, but obviously you lose an MVP candidate. It's going to be tough. After the break, we'll take a deep dive.
Oh, yeah, bonus.
First weekend of the NCAA
Oh,
tournament.
my God,
We'll be
such
back
an
right
asshole.
As promised, now we will do the tournament check-in. Tournament check-in is brought to you by Domino's Best Deal Ever. When I say best deal ever, I mean it. You can get any pizza with any toppings for $9.99. So it's March Madness.
I can't get a foul, bro.
It's March Madness. We will have some upsets. And yes, their work must be. The first round we had 11 VCU, UNC, which led to a lot of talks about UNC possibly having to get rid of one of the former players in Hubert Davis. They just have not had the success that UNC is accustomed to having. And it's been a while now. Now, granted, you lose potential number one pick in Caleb Wilson, who is not only your best player, but he's also the heart and soul of the team. He's the energy behind the team. He is the attitude behind the team. You lose that guy, things are going to get tough. Kind of goes without saying what we were just saying at the top of the show, which is you lose an MVP candidate, Cade Cunningham, things are going to get tougher. You're UNC, you lose Caleb Wilson, things are going to get tough. And so it was going to be tough for Carolina anyway. They were having a good year, obviously, but you lose a talent like that, a guy who believes, a guy who brought the league back into a program, it's going to get tougher. And Carolina wasn't able to take care of VCU, bounced in the first round of the tournament. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I saw someone say, man, it just sucks that the Jordan School can't compete in the NIL era. We should be willing to do anything we can to compete in the NIL era. And that is true. The reality is, the NIL has changed it for a lot of schools. Schools that used to dominate, and now other teams are able to play in the ballpark with money and different things. It could change things a bit in the NCAA. So, different day and age in the NIL. We also had another upset. High Point beat Wisconsin. High Point, for those that don't know, is in High Point, North Carolina. High Point has a pretty good NIL budget. They're actually able to go steal players from Power 5 schools due to their NIL budget. I hear some along the lines of their president has done very well for himself and donates to the school. I don't know that to be true. That's what I've heard. But nonetheless, they beat Wisconsin, who I thought would be a tough out because they have great guard play. When you have great guard play in the NCAA tournament, you're used to a tough out. Needless to say, High Point does the unthinkable 12 seed, beating 5 seed, and takes care of Wisconsin in the first round. Second round, we also have some upsets. Number 9 Iowa beats the defending champions Florida. Shout out to my young fellow Will Richard, the Rook, Big Al Horford, Big Gator, Little Gator is what we call her. Yeah, man, weren't quite able to defend that national title at a high level. Second round exit to the Big Ten, Iowa Hawkeyes. I must say, I didn't see that one. I did not see that one coming. I saw Florida had a chance to make a run. Quite honestly, I don't think their guard play lived up to what we thought their guard play would be coming into the season. And again, when I say in the NCAA tournament, you need great guard play, I don't think Florida's guard play ever lived up to what it was supposed to be. For what they spent on in NIL, I just don't think they reached the level. They definitely didn't reach the level of Walter Clayton Jr. and Will Richard, and who Florida just won the championship with in the backcourt a year ago. They definitely never got near that level, and in turn, you see a first-round exit. Another upset. 11 Texas beat 3 Gonzaga. Now, here's the thing. Texas is a powerhouse. Yes, they were in the first 4, but they're doing it, man. And Gonzaga, I didn't believe, I wasn't very high on all year. They played in the West Coast Conference. I'm a big fan of Coach Q and what he's built there. But I thought they were a bit overrated all year. And they came back to show against a Texas team who hasn't been great that year yet, handles their business in the second round, send number 3 Gonzaga on home. You look at those first 4 games, and if you have a good team like Texas, you get
I hate this
like
passing system, bro.
It jumpstarts the run, and now they're headed to the Sweet 16 from the first 4. They beat NC State, beat BYU, beat Gonzaga. It's a good resume right there. We also have some buzzer beaters. Kentucky takes down the Brandon Brzezinski Santa Clara I don't know their nicknames, but they go down to Kentucky on a buzzer beater. We're into the game. Let you guys get threes off. I always think that's weird. You got to go to full length of the court and just go and fire. Foul. You're up 3. Foul. Nonetheless, Santa Clara's headed home. Kentucky's now headed home due to a second round loss, but buzzer beater. Vanderbilt, Nebraska. Another buzzer beater. Man, Nebraska keeps their season alive. Their first ever Sweet 16. Fred Hoiberg's done an incredible job there. And, they did what they had to do to beat Vanderbilt. Quite honestly, I was happy to see Nebraska beat Vanderbilt. And then St. John's at Kansas. The St. John's at Kansas game was an interesting one down the stretch because I thought to have 2 or 3 fouls and foul all the way up to 6 where you're now in the penalty. Where you can't defend, you can't use your hands because if you use your hands and they call a foul, it's 1-1. I thought Bill Self fouling that much. I understood the theory behind the foul. And I actually think it was a good theory to run some clock. But let them run a little more clock, then take the foul. Also, so you're just not fouling. And so you get it down to 4 seconds left. And the guy who's guarding the ball can't put any ball pressure on the ball because he can't take the chance to foul. And so I thought putting yourself in a penalty, I didn't think that was smart. Now maybe you get the 5 fouls and then you play it out and then that way if you need a foul, you take. But to just foul right up to the penalty, everybody's like, oh man, he gave up a straight line drive. He can't give up a straight line drive. Yes, you're correct. You can't give up a straight line drive. But how stupid do they look?
Good shit, Kay.
All of a sudden now he's sitting down, he guards, they fouled all the way into the penalty, and then he mistakenly bumps the guy and got all over his free throw. How crazy does that kid look? And so I think it was ridiculous to foul that much to go into the penalty and then have to play defense on this last possession. In the penalty, you can't use your hands, can't do anything. I think that was crazy. Ultimately, it cost him the game. Guy drives straight down the lane to his right hand. Now, Gunn, he's a left-hand player, gets the right-hand finish. Guy hadn't hit a shot all night. One thing I hated, this guy hadn't hit a shot all night. He hit 1 shot, and everybody's like, oh, man, he's a hero. Bryce Hopkins was the hero. Bryce Hopkins made every play down the stretch, every shot down the stretch that he needed to make. So shout out to him. Transfer from Providence at St. John. Shout out to him. He carried that team. He had that team in position. Yes, the point guard made the plays and the bucket at the end, but it was Bryce Hopkins who carried that team and ultimately Patino to his fourth time being in the Final Four, 4th different schools taken to a Sweet 16. So shout out to Coach Patino. And the St. John Red Storm. I remember that very much. Shout out to the Johnny. In other news, we spoke about High Point a little bit. Their coach, Queen Claimant, calls out high major schools for not scheduling them. It'll be interesting to see, teams now upset. Ain't nobody scheduling y'all next year either, Coach. So enjoy it. Try to do it again, Coach, and maybe you go somewhere where you got to schedule High Point and then you schedule it. Because people going to get more and more praise. Especially after seeing Miami of Ohio get in the tournament. Didn't have a strong schedule, but had a great year. I think more people are going to do that scheduling, but we'll see how it happens. And last but not least, my Spartans are back in the Sweet 16. Shout out to the homies, the OG, Charles Barkley, Sir Charles, the love he gave Coach Izzo, because those are facts. Man. You don't want to be coached, it's just that ain't the place for you. If you want to win, you want to be coached by a great coach, Tom Izzo, best in the business. Shout out to Coach Iz, headed back to the Sweet 16. That was the tournament check-in brought to you by Domino's. Here's why I love Domino's best deal ever. It doesn't argue with you. You want all the toppings, go get them. You want just a couple, it's the same price. Any pizza with any toppings for just $9.99. Shout out again to Domino's for sponsoring the tournament check-in and for that insane deal. Prices higher in some locations. Select this online-only offer from February 23rd to April 6th. Size availability varies by crust type. Max 7 toppings, 6 for New York style and pan crust. Stuffed crust is extra, excludes XL and specialty pieces. Minimum purchase required for delivery. Prices, participation, delivery area, and charges may vary. Last but not least, we'll move around the association. Another block breaks out. Between the Thunder and Wizards, 4 players were rejected. A.J. Mitchell, Casey Wallace, Anthony Gill, and Justin Champagny. Mitchell and Champagny were each suspended for 1 game. The other 3 guys were fined $25,000. These fights are starting to happen more and more. What I will say is, and what I can appreciate about the NBA is, I think they've been a lot more lenient on suspension. I think they've been a lot more lenient on fines. So I got to give James Jones credit in doing that. Not just coming in trying to take money out of players' pockets. NBA is a very emotional game. Things happen in games. You're starting to see tempers flaring over. Going over the edge. That happens. If you want to pull all the emotion out the game, then y'all cry about the game being boring and guys not the team. So can't have it both ways. You're getting this type of energy. It's what happens. It's what comes with it, and I respect it. So shout out to James Jones and letting the game grow, letting the game be physical. Sometimes when the game does that, things happen. You move on. these are disturbances that cause a bunch of uproar. Things happen throughout the course of the competition battle, and you keep pushing. So, sure, that's those young guys' first position. Welcome to the club, brothers. Luka Doncic received his 16 technical foul in Orlando. The NBA has since suspended it. Goga Bataji trash talking Luka at the foul line, and Luka said at the free throw line, yes, Bataji said he would fuck his whole family up. And at some point, I can't stand for that. I gotta stand up for myself. Robert Horry goes on the show and brings me up in the conversation. Maybe, I think he wanted some attention, so everybody, let's give Robert Horry attention that he deserves. I don't know what I had to do. But anyway, he said, I always laugh because I've always seen certain players, I'm not going to call them their names, cough, Draymond Green that says things to the refs and they let it slide. When you say things to other players, there's no place to shove it. You want to call it double tech on the players. Stop taking money out of players' pockets. Robert Horry, I am in favor of not taking money out of players' pockets. I am not sure how you ended up with my name in this table because, it just don't really fit the conversation. Number one, I don't talk about people's family. I talk a lot of shit on the basketball court. You can ask a lot of guys the things that I say. I don't talk about guys' family. I have, in one instance in my career, it wasn't about family, relationships. And this guy I thought went way over the edge and glove came off. But I'm not one to talk about families. I don't do that. I think there's certain lines you don't cross because no one's going to come on the court to talk about my family. That line won't be crossed. So respect Luka for standing up to that because that's not something you back down from. Certain things shouldn't come on the basketball court, and family is one of them. I'm not a fan of family being mentioned on the basketball court. Guys, ladies being mentioned on the basketball court. Guys, kids being that don't work for me. I just don't play those types of games. So again, Robert Horry bringing my name up. I'm not sure what point he was trying to make. I think he just wanted to say my name. It didn't quite land that well because it didn't enhance the story. I know my name enhances a lot of people's story. Unfortunately, with this one, I just don't quite see how it made its way. But thanks for the shout out, I suppose, Robert Horry. Jaylen Brown has memorized all of his teammates' astrology and numerology in order to better learn how to communicate with them. So I learned communication styles that work best for each individual and started utilizing that when I speak to each and every guy. I'm not learning any astrology or numerology, but I do understand where Jaylen Brown is coming from. One thing Coach Izzo taught me at a young age was in order to be a leader, you have to lead individuals. You can't just go and say, man, I'm about to lead this team, and everybody, this is how I'm doing it. You have to find which buttons to push with each guy. And so I understand the theory. So I think it's a very interesting one. But I definitely understand the theory of Jaylen Brown trying to get to know his teammates better and trying to see what communication style fits each guy. Because it's going to be different. One guy you need to yell at, one guy you need to whisper to, one guy you need to tell him he's the best in the world, one guy you need to tell him he's shit and need to pick it up. And that's just kind of the nature of what we do. So shout out to Jaylen Brown taking that next step in his leadership. Tari Easton's mom reached out to Lisa Stewart to help Tari the shooting spot. He had been 1 for 28 from 3 and 27 for 85 overall in March. Quite the shooting spot, especially for a guy who is in a contract year, who kind of bet on himself, is in a contract year. So we'll see if he can pick that back up, but sometimes, man, it just becomes mental. So hopefully he don't get to the point to where, it's mental for him.
He's gonna be good, but the way he was, oh my God, I'm not even paying attention.
So my son could be Steph Curry by the playoffs. Mama Easton, I'm here to tell you, your son can spend every waking minute in the gym until the playoffs. Ain't nobody gonna be Steph Curry, Mama Easton. But shout out to the young fella. Hope he can figure it out. I want to see everybody get paid. Don't want to see them try to use it against him at the negotiation. In other news, the Houston Rockets, KD passes MJ for 5th all-time on the all-time scoring list at 32,294 points. Man, that's a lot of buckets. Shout out to KD. One of the greatest scorers we've ever seen. Anytime you can pass Michael Jordan in anything is special. I know how much of a basketball purist KD is, how much work he put into the game. So great to see him passing MJ. And then also, another passing, LeBron passes the Chief, Robert Parrish, for most regular season games played, 1,612. So shout out to those guys, man, the longevity that both of those guys have had, continuing to break records, continuing to rewrite what longevity means in the NBA. Still playing at the levels they're playing at in year 19 and 23 respectively. So shout out to those guys, man. After the break, we have another edition of Spark Days. Be back right after this. If you're needing that energy boost and also love sweets, there's a new 5-hour energy shot called Fruity Rainbow. You know what's underrated? 17 flavors. It is NCAA tournament time, and with that, we are.
Just fuck up, Taker. Fucking Taker. Bro, I can't wait for WNBA, bro. It's like, they need to hurry up.
Kelsey Mitchell. Comments about Caitlin Clark is starting to resurface right before free agency. Look like everybody has been keeping their receipts, and they are dissecting everything Kelsey Mitchell ever said, went on record, especially in the Caitlin Clark department. Now, we know a lot of things has transpired within the WNBA. One has recently been the CBA finally getting sealed, signed, and delivered. We will have a 2026 season. Now, I'm here to tell you one of the hottest topics that is going to take over the month of April is the Indiana Fever roster. They have several big-time moves to make.
Kelsey Mitchell's words are coming back to haunt the Indiana Fever at the worst possible time. Just as the expansion draft looms, a resurfaced interview is tearing through the locker room chemistry like a wildfire. She didn't hold back when the cameras were rolling, and now every syllable is being dissected by fans and front offices alike. The timing couldn't be more catastrophic for a franchise trying to find its footing. It's not just a quote, it's a direct challenge to the power structure of the league's most watched teams. This is the moment where silence ends and the real battle for the Indiana Fever's future finally begins in the public eye.
One being Sophie Cunningham, but the hottest topic on the market is Kelsey Mitchell. What is they going to do? Will Kelsey Mitchell be paid like a Supermax player from the Indiana Fever? Many people saying yeah, but it's a lot of people saying they don't know with a big question mark by it. Now, something else that has been happening is Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark relationship. Now, we seen a few weeks ago, Caitlin Clark actually posted a photo on Instagram of her, Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hall, showing that there is some camaraderie there. We have Kelsey Mitchell's family that likes to speak online.
People are digging up old receipts, and they found gold in the form of a podcast interview that was supposed to stay buried. In it, Kelsey Mitchell breaks down the arrival of Caitlin Clark with a level of honesty that feels dangerous in today's hypersensitive WNBA environment. He talks about the adjustments, the ego shifts, and the reality of a superstar taking over a program. It's a raw look at what happens when a generational talent walks into a locker room and changes everything overnight. The internet never forgets, and now these comments are fueling a massive fire just as free agency and the draft process heat up.
On Instagram, I've heard Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hall, showing that there is some camaraderie there.
Oh my God, I thought I missed that.
They like to speak online, say a little stuff to create these negative headlines. Now, I'm not saying they can't speak, but when they do speak, they damn sure let it be known how they feel. Sometimes some things is better left unsaid. Now, just like I told y'all, Kelsey Mitchell, comments about Caitlin Clark is starting to resurface. This was a podcast she did. I want you guys to listen to this.
The biggest part that I respected about Caitlin is that she never was.
The timing of this leak is no accident because the WNBA expansion draft is currently throwing the entire league into a state of absolute chaos. Teams are scrambling to protect their assets, and the Indiana Fever is sitting right in the middle of the crosshairs. With the Golden State Valkyries ready to cherry-pick talent, the Fever's roster stability is under a microscope. Every word Mitchell said about team chemistry and role-playing is being used to judge whether she fits the long-term vision. It's a high-stakes game of chess where one wrong move by the front office could dismantle the core of the team before the season even starts.
This was a podcast she did. I want you guys to listen to this.
The biggest part that I respected about Caitlin is that she never was bigger than a program.
Yeah, the time I spent with Caitlin, like, she definitely has, like, oh, you're like my little sister.
Yes.
Because she likes to, like, you know, talk about basketball and kind of troll a little bit. Yeah,
goodness.
exactly.
You're talking about a kid in the candy store, and that's Caitlin.
Yeah, when you think about, like, your team in the last couple of years, right, we'll say the obvious. Caitlin joins the team, a lot more eyeballs, a lot more scrutiny, a lot of conversation about like what it's like for you guys in your...
Mitchell's most striking comment was about Caitlin never being bigger than the program, which sounds like a compliment, but hides a deeper tension. She noted that Clark had to learn how to fit into an existing system, rather than the system revolving around her from day one. This reveals the massive adjustment period the veterans had to endure when the spotlight shifted entirely to a rookie. It wasn't just about basketball, it was about the social media abuse and the outside noise that came with the new era. The locker room was no longer a private sanctuary, and Mitchell felt every bit of that pressure as the old guard.
Comes into something, there are a lot of adjustments that people have to make.
Kevin, you had a great performance individually. What made the game look so easy for you?
Well, my teammates, they played so well tonight, setting everybody up, and I knew it was winning time, so I just tried to be aggressive.
Winning time, that's what I like to hear. Guys, back to you.
That makes sense, but it wasn't like she wasn't trying to take over. It wasn't. I don't know how to explain that. You know what I'm trying to say, though?
Yeah, no, I know what you're trying to say. It's like she knows who she is. She comes in. She's going to obviously do her part, because that's what being a professional athlete is. But with the understanding of fitting into a team, making...
Mitchell went as far as calling Caitlin a little sister who likes to troll and talk trash, painting a picture of a kid in a candy store. While intended to show camaraderie, it highlights a specific hierarchy that might not exist anymore. Clark isn't just a little sister, she's the engine driving the league's revenue and viewership records. Referring to her as a kid in a candy store diminishes the weight of the responsibility Clark carries on her shoulders. Fans are now questioning if Mitchell truly respects Clark as a peer, or if there's a subtle condescension lingering beneath the surface of those recent...
Like, gang, you ugly, gang, you ugly. Like, stop, you ugly.
Misfires. Long beats Johannes on the glass, and Wilson cleans it up.
It started with a phone call no one was ever supposed to hear about. No cameras, no headlines, just a quiet moment that signaled a seismic shift in women's basketball. For nearly a decade, A'ja Wilson had been untouchable.
Wilson in the paint, met by Jones. Wilson flips it.
A permanent fixture on every roster that mattered. The kind of player decisions were built around, not made without. But in early 2026, behind closed doors at USA Basketball, that certainty cracked. Her name was left off, not due to injury, not for rest, but by choice. And stepping into that vacuum was Caitlin Clark, a rising force who didn't just seize the moment, but redefined the balance of power itself. This isn't about a single roster decision. It's about what happens when dominance meets disruption, when perception shifts, and when the game quietly decides it's ready for a new face at the top. And when legacy feels threatened to understand how we arrived at this moment, you need to go back to 2022. Picture A'ja Wilson at the absolute peak of her powers. She had the MVP trophies.
Watch out, Kevin.
He did, but he got MVP. She had the championship rings with the Las Vegas Aces. She had the endorsement deals, the magazine covers, the television analysts calling her the greatest of her generation without a moment of hesitation. Wilson was not just the best player in the WNBA. She was the WNBA. When she looked in the mirror, she saw someone who had earned the undisputed right to be the center of attention in her sport. She had no intention of sharing that with anyone. And then Caitlin Clark happened. Clark did not enter the conversation the way most prospects do. She did not quietly work through the ranks and wait her turn. She exploded into the public consciousness like a comet, leaving broken records and stunned defenders in her wake. Suddenly, every arena she played in was selling out weeks in advance. Every game she touched was shattering television ratings the WNBA had chased for decades. Every highlight reel across every network was dominated by her impossible 30-foot three-pointers.
She got another. Second three of the quarter for Caitlin Clark.
Launched with supreme confidence and a competitive fire that reminded older fans of legends they thought they would never see again. Casual fans who had never watched women's basketball in their lives were now setting reminders for her games. The sport was experiencing a genuine cultural moment, something that should have been celebrated by everyone who loved the game. But Wilson did not celebrate. She could not. Because when she watched the coverage, and when she saw the sponsorship deals and the magazine features, and the way Clark's name was suddenly the first word out of every analyst's mouth, something inside her shifted. Instead of recognizing that a rising tide lifts all boats, instead of understanding that Clark's popularity was bringing millions of new eyes and millions of new dollars into a league that desperately needed both, Wilson made the decision that would eventually unravel everything she had built. She decided Caitlin Clark was not a colleague, not a fellow ambassador, not even a rival. She decided Clark was her enemy. And the thing about that decision is you can trace it in real time. When Clark signed a Nike shoe deal in 2024,
Clark is reportedly set to sign with Nike.
one that appeared to leapfrog Wilson's own negotiations with the brand, Wilson posted a Bible verse on social media about being patient when others find success. She never named Clark, but the timing was impossible to miss. When Clark was named Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year for 2024, an honor that should have been a victory for every woman in basketball, Wilson's response was not celebration, but cryptic commentary that radiated skepticism. In interviews, she started using phrases like sustained excellence and real impact in ways that were transparently designed to draw a line between herself and the younger player. She began sharing throwback content of her own achievements with timing that was clearly calculated to overshadow Clark's biggest moments. None of it was subtle, and none of it went unnoticed. Here is the thing about jealousy that Wilson apparently never learned. It never stays hidden, no matter how carefully you try to dress it up. Jealousy leaks. It leaked in the loaded language she used in interviews. It leaked in the passive-aggressive social media activity that grew more pointed as Clark's star continued to rise. It leaked in the way she would change the subject whenever reporters brought up Clark's name or asked her opinion on the phenomenon sweeping through the sport. Wilson made the fatal mistake of turning every single Caitlin Clark achievement into a personal insult to her own legacy. She made Clark's success about herself rather than about the unprecedented growth of the game. She convinced herself she was defending the honor of veterans when she was really just protecting her ego from the uncomfortable reality that someone younger and more marketable had arrived. And what Wilson did not realize, and what she could not have possibly known at the time, was that Team USA officials were watching every one of these interactions with cold, professional eyes, and they were taking very detailed notes. The flaw the WNBA protected here is where we get into territory that mainstream basketball media almost never touches. Everyone talks about Wilson's dominance. Everyone talks about her 4 MVPs, her 3 championships, her historic 2025 season, where she became the first player in WNBA or NBA history to win the league title.
Wilson getting smothered by her teammates. This woman has had a historical season.
Finals MVP, regular season MVP, and Defensive Player of the Year all in a single campaign. On paper, her resume is untouchable, but paper does not play basketball on an international court. And there is a fundamental problem with Wilson's game that becomes devastatingly clear when you understand how global competition actually works. Insiders call it the special whistle. Look at Wilson's free throw attempts in a typical WNBA season. The numbers are staggering. On the surface, that looks like the mark of an unstoppable offensive force. But when you actually break down the film, you see something different. You see a player who has mastered the art of initiating marginal contact and selling it to referees with theatrical precision. Every drive to the basket ends with an exaggerated motion. Every defensive contest, no matter how clean, results in an appeal for a call. Wilson's scoring output is not built purely on skill. It is built significantly on a steady stream.
Bro, what is this Angel Wilson hate page, bro? The fucking page is called Clark Fan World. What the fuck?
The rules favor offensive players.
What the hell? Shit is called Clark Fan World. Like gang. Caitlin don't know you gang. Caitlin don't know you gang.
So today we're going to be reacting to an article from The Athletic from Ben Hickman, and this is about the WNBA expansion draft. We're going to be we're just going to be looking at who he has picked. I'm going to be very much scrolling through the players. I'm not going to be reading any of this. You can see what he says. I'm just going to be reacting to the initial picks, and I assume they have better logic. Obviously, look, this is an article from The Athletic. You can look it up yourself, and let's go. So, I'm guessing here, it says there'll be 12 rounds. For the first 6 rounds, each team can protect 5 players. During these rounds, each can only have 1 player selected by either Portland or Toronto. After the 6th round, the existing teams can protect an additional player. During the final 6 rounds, each team can only have 1 player selected. Toronto will select first because temp were announced first. Okay. So round 1. Okay, so basically, this sounds like it's going to be a real draft. It sounds like it's going to be a real draft. That, like, each team can protect 5 players, and then you can take however many from whatever. You can just pick. It's not just 1 from each team like last year. So, round 1, Leah Rue as the first pick. I don't think Leah Rue is the first pick of the potential draft is crazy. They're going to protect Paige Beckers, Louise Geisler, Isaiah James, Diamond Miller, Maddie Seegers. My expectation is they will protect JJ Quinterly or Arike. If not, you take Arike number 1. It's kind of as simple as that. If you're going to not protect Arike's gone in the expansion draft. If you're an expansion,
are you dumb, stupid, or dumb? Play me like a dummy, like bitch. Are you dumb? Are you dumb, stupid, or dumb? Stupid.
Carla Lake for the Valks. So Valks, Veronica Burton, Jessie Day, Rupert, Salon, Kale Thorne.
We gonna make them dance bachata. Lean over, do the chata. Good papa.
If you can get Carla Lake as your franchise point guard in an expansion draft, I think you're in good shape, You're in good shape.
Bro, NECA is so good, bro.
I really like her as a good young player, and if you can only pick 5, and you're the Valks, that is a problem. I would consider letting Kayla Thornton walk. Purely because, look, you can get that much worse when Kayla Thornton was gone, and I think it's really hard to find a better young point guard. Like I think there's not that many better ones. And I understand you might have a better one in Veronica Burton, but still, I think Carl Lake's too good to give up on. Pick 3, Emily Engsler. Round 2, pick Emily Engsler from the Mystics. I really like Engsler. Amor, Austin, Citron, Kiki, and Shoop Sutton. I really rate Emily Engsler highly as a player. I think she's somebody that can absolutely go, and she has no real flaws. She can shoot the 3 ball. She can defend. I really wish Fever had kept her. I think Emily Engsler is a fantastic player. I think she is a fantastic player, and I think she's somebody that is going to be a key contributor. Like, if you get her in the right system with the right coach, I think she could be a key contributor to a pretty decent team at some stage in her WNBA career. And is that right now? I don't know, but you just never know. You just never know when it comes to some of these players. Like, I do feel like Engsler is a player that maybe not taken this high in the expansion draft, but also the fact is that, again, we've seen Leah Ruby passed up on. But surely the Mystics have a better player than Engsler as well to take. Maybe not. But round 2, Anastasia Kosu from the Lynx. Yeah, if you can get Kosu from the Lynx, just based on upside alone, I kind of get that one. Like, I think Kosu's upside is super high.
Gang, you ugly.